Today it's Tuesday, March 18th, and I'll try to... It is why I have the microphone paid in this direction, so that way when I'm over here, it picks me up a little better, so I try. Now that we have gotten through new-ish I learned, because today was all, or like half of it was grammar or something like that. Tomorrow we have math, and you have another English. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that one, but you should not need headphones tomorrow. Only grade this week is going to be Friday's quiz. I have no other homework for you. And as I said a moment ago, blue sheet will be almost done except for about 5 questions by end of class Thursday. Because we're down to about a week and a half left. So we're getting close to the end. Then time thing, you're going to go from here to 6th and then from 6th to 7th as normal. Time-wise, the times are weird. So this one will be ending at 43, period 6 at 21, and then period 7 should be pretty straightforward. It goes to the end of the day. Tomorrow, same schedule tomorrow as it was today.
Oh, that's wrong. Why is period 6 so long? 40 minutes.
It's not. It's the same as the others. That would be 30 minutes. Yeah, math.
Nice math.
They should have like an iLearn about that.
That's tomorrow.
We do get to have 3 more of you get points. So we get a chance to do that one here. Then
I thought it was 26 minutes.
your afternoon classes are longer than your morning classes. Pausing. Then back to our stuff from here. I want to do speedy review of yesterday to make sure, and then we'll get to our new story for today. So yesterday's story, did we see if we got through did we get all the way through the cow?
Yeah.
Did we get to why Zeus is upset about the cow?
Yeah.
No. Just want to check to find out. Did we find out did he confront the other god yet?
No.
Gives an idea of roughly where we got to then. So humans 1.0, who made first humans? Using what ingredients? Who makes 2.0? Using what ingredients?
Clay.
That's where the clay comes in and tackle box. Ooh, not only humans, what else is made? And that's where the animals comes in. What mistake is made?
Everything.
Except for one.
Brains. What we got.
In theory, most of you got.
Jaden, you asked me this, bro.
And so, look at him getting right. No, getting rid of those points. Who needs those? And so, with our issue, we now have humans, and so now that they exist, even with our issues, many issues, we now get to sacrifices. What is it we sacrifice? Food. And then we see the sacrificing of the food. Why do the gods care about sacrificing? We play a role in today's story. Then, anytime you sacrifice, who do you sacrifice to?
Zeus.
Whoever you want, and then Zeus on top of it, and that becomes their whole popularity system. So which god is the most popular?
Zeus, the king of the gods.
Second most popular?
There
you go.
But it should be the fastest.
Should be, but it's not always.
It should be
Then we start setting up sacrifices.
It should be Dionysus.
And then with sacrifices, we have our cow. We split it into the main parts. First cow part is?
Boom. Oil.
Second one is?
It's the colorful
Meat.
rainbow.
Then?
Rainbow.
And the part that's left over.
Rainbow stick.
Of those, which ones do the humans want?
Rainbow stick.
And which ones should they want?
The food.
So, which god comes down to save them?
Prometheus.
And that's when he does the convincing and telling of them.
Rainbow stick.
And then we have our giant pile of rainbow sticks. And then we have our exploded cow parts. Exploded, there we go. And then, which one does Zeus choose?
Rainbow stick.
Why?
Because they're cool.
Which ones do the humans get? Why?
Because the cow bleeds.
Nicely done. And then that's where we got to him
And it
picking
falls
up.
apart.
And it falls apart and he pouts.
He gets angry.
At this point, Zeus is angry because he realizes he just got tricked. He's covered in slime and he's like, this is definitely not the best option. He turns to yell at the humans and sees them running down the hill, and like they run into a tree, and then fall down, and then get up and run into another tree, and they're throwing all the coats into the air. And he goes, "There's no way they tricked me. Those guys are idiots, even if they do have a brain. Only one god is smart enough and dumb enough to trick them, and that would be Prometheus." So he calls Prometheus up in his anger, and he's like, "Prometheus, my room, now." Prometheus comes up and is like, "Hey, what's up, boss?" He goes, "Hey, do you see this pile of slime that's all over me?" Prometheus goes, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, "Well, turns out, I think you went behind my back, and that you helped the humans learn how to do this, even though that's not what I wanted." And Prometheus is not good at lying, so he goes, "Yeah, that was me, boss. I went behind your back, I did my future thing, and I saw the fact that if they ended up taking the rainbow bones, they were going to die of starvation, and then we'd have to start all over again." Zeus goes, "All right, you had good intentions, but you went behind my back. That's strike one. I'm not good at baseball. You only get 2 strikes. The next time you go behind my back, I'm going to torture you until the end of time." What special ability does Prometheus have? So he looks into the future and goes, "Oh no, okay, it'll never happen again." It's going to happen again. So at this point, we now have sacrifices set up, and Zeus is a little unhappy with Prometheus, but we're just going to hope that Prometheus makes no future poor choices until tomorrow. But for today, we're going to go a different direction.
I love Hades.
Talk about this guy.
Hades. I love him.
The story of Hades being lonely. So our story is going to be Hades, who's been hanging out down in the underworld, but after a while he decides it's time to join Tinder and start going out into the world. There you go. And so he decides, but when he starts trying to date girls in his kingdom, it turns out they're not very good at conversations because they're dead. And that really cuts down on how much a girl talks. So he decides to expand his Tinder profile and go elsewhere. And he finds a girl by the name of Persephone. But Persephone is not in his kingdom. Persephone is up on the real world running around. That's where he happens to notice her. He would love to just go ask Persephone out and have a relationship, but with her not being in his kingdom, that's not an option. He has to get permission. Who does he have to get permission from? So even though he falls in deep like with her, he still has to go to Zeus. And he goes to Zeus and is like, "Hey, found this girl. She's kind of hottie. I'd really like to ask her out." Zeus goes, "Go for it, buddy." He goes, "Small problem. She's not in my kingdom. She's in your kingdom." And Zeus goes, "Oh, who is she?" He goes, "Persephone." Zeus goes, "That's Demeter's daughter." He goes, "It is, but I really like her." And Zeus goes, "Well, okay, you don't usually step out like this, and you're usually all solo and all emo in the corner, so you're really trying to step out and expand. So because of that, Zeus thinks about it and goes, I give you permission." Gives him the thumbs up, says, "Go for it, you can have this girl." And Zeus says, "Have at it." Hades is excited, and then realizes he's now gotten to the scary part of his plan, talking to a girl. And it turns out talking to girls is scary. So he sees her running around this field for a while, and he keeps trying to find the right time to approach her, but every time it's scary because her friends are around. So he comes up with another plan, which is called creeping on her. And instead of just talking to her, he watches her from a distance and just kind of creeps on her for a while, and eventually comes up with what he thinks is a better plan than talking to her. Because talking to her, she can say no and turn him down, and that's scary. So he comes up with a backup plan he calls kidnapping. Kidnapping is like dating, but you skip all the awkward parts and you go straight to the part where you just throw the girl in your basement. And that just cuts out all that in-between things. So he thinks this is great. I wish I was making up this next part of the story, but it was actually in the versions that I read. Apparently, as he's creeping on her, she's playing a game with her friends called Find the Flower, which was a game girls played at this time where you would run around a field and find flowers to then brag to your friends about to see who had the best flower. This is what girls had to do before TikTok. They had to just run around and find flowers. So he's watching her running around grabbing flowers and realizes this is his perfect time to begin Operation Kidnapping. He creates, and he comes up with his little flower. He's like the biggest, prettiest, most outrageous flower he can think of. And he goes, if I stick this up through the ground and she sees this flower, she's going to come grab it, and then I can yoink, I can pull her back down underground, and then Operation Kidnapping can begin. So he takes the flower, pushes it up through the ground, wiggles it back and forth like it's a fishing pole. And he's like, here, fishy, 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 here, fishy. Well, Persephone sees it, and her friends see it at the same time. And she goes, that's my flower! And throws one elbow into one friend's face, and another elbow into another friend's face, and then jumps up and hi-ya kicks another kid, and drops them all down, and she goes running for the flower, and her friends are laying on the ground going, she really wants that flower. And she runs to it, grabs the flower, and she's like, this is my flower! And yanks it up out of the ground, but it doesn't come up out of the ground. As soon as she starts to yank up on it, Hades goes, got him! And yanks her down. As soon as that happens, and she leaves this world and goes to this world, she is no longer in Zeus's kingdom. Now she's in
Hades' kingdom.
Once she's in Hades' kingdom, Zeus no longer has any control over any of this. Now Hades does. And he goes, hey, welcome to my kingdom. My name is Hades, and you are now my wife. She goes, I don't want to be your wife. And he goes, you don't have a choice. He goes, welcome to my basement. Here's where you're going to spend the rest of time because you're my wife. Persephone, not happy about it. You know how women get when you kidnap them and throw them in a basement? They get all pouty and stuff. It's the worst. She does the same thing. Once she's thrown down there, she goes, you know what? Just because you brought me down here does not mean I'm going to love you, nor am I going to spend any time with you. I'm going to spend all of my time in the bedroom pouting, not coming out. And Hades goes, that's fine. Turns out I have all the time in the world for you to fall in love with me. So we're going to be here till you love me. And she goes, you're creepy. He goes, and then fades away. So at this point, she is now stuck in the underworld. Time passes. Turns out, though, her mom begins to miss her. Her mom being?
Demeter.
So Demeter's not happy about this whole kidnapping of her daughter thing. So what Demeter does is, with Demeter, she goes and finds from all of Persephone's friends what happened about the ground opening up and this big shadow grabbing her and pulling her down. And Demeter realizes, obviously, Hades kidnapped their daughter and took her to the underworld. But Hades could never do this on his own, because Hades cannot just grab someone from the living world and drag them down. He had to get permission for it to happen. And that permission would come from? So that's who Demeter decides to go and confront. Once she's upset, she goes and confronts Zeus and goes, hey, my daughter just got kidnapped by our brother. I would like to have my daughter back. It's going to get worse in a moment, so just hold on. And so Zeus goes, no, stop being selfish. Think about Hades. He really stepped out of his shell trying to date somebody. It happened to be your daughter. It should be okay. Go out and have another kid. She goes, what? No, you can't. And he goes, at blah, 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 gets to stepping. Well, Demeter does not like that solution at all. So her solution is to go into her room, and then she decides that she is going to just eat Haagen-Dazs ice cream and watch reruns of Grey's Anatomy, and she is no longer going to do anything besides be depressed and pout. Which is great, except she has a job. Her job being... So, as she pouts, she goes, I'm no longer going to do my job because my job requires my daughter around and my daughter's gone, so I'm done. Zeus goes, I don't care. Pout all you want. I've got my whole kingdom. She goes, fine. So she pouts and pouts. And as she does, the world changes. And we introduce something to the world for the first time. Winter. You're out. Both, one, crops stop growing, but also when the crops stop growing, the world starts to get colder and everything starts to die off. Zeus still doesn't care. And he goes, all right, fine, you're pouting. We have winter. Everything's dying off. I don't care. Until all of a sudden, he does care. Because the crops dying off suddenly begins to impact him. He doesn't care about humans dying. He doesn't care about Demeter pouting. Crops dying off suddenly has an impact on him. Why?
Because no more sacrifices.
All of a sudden, as he's checking his social media feed and he's watching TikTok, his TikTok feed dies. And he sits there and swipes, and he's like, I can't, there's nothing on my TikTok. And he goes down to the humans. He's like, humans, TikTok, boy need TikTok. And the humans go, humans need crops. We can't sacrifice to you if everything's dead. We need something to give you. He goes, oh, yeah, that's kind of a bummer. He's like, well, how do we make that happen? And the humans go, winter, go bye-bye. He goes, oh, I wonder. So he goes to Demeter and goes, hey, sis, I kind of need crops to grow again so I can get my TikTok back. Can you make the crops grow? And she goes, no, I want my daughter back. So he goes, fine. If I bring your daughter back, will you make the crops grow? She goes, yeah, absolutely. Now, can Zeus force Hades? No, but he can politely ask, which is what he's going to do. Now, he doesn't want to start a war, but he does not want to have Demeter mad at him, and he really wants to have the crops back. So he sends Hermes down to the underworld to give news to Hades and go, hey, Zeus made a mistake. Persephone's going to need to come back up to the upper world. Is that okay with you? He'll really owe you a solid, and he'll owe you a favor. And Hades doesn't really want to agree, but he doesn't want to have a big fight with Zeus, so he goes, all right, fine, I'll agree to it, not a problem at all. Makes him sad, but he's willing to roll with it. Well, he goes and tells Persephone, he was like, hey, I got bad news, dear. You don't get to stay down here. Apparently, you're going to have to go back up to the normal world. Persephone takes it really well. Apparently, she's a little excited about all this. And she's finally ready to come out of her room. He goes, listen, I appreciate the fact that you're excited to go back up there, and you've been in your bedroom pouting this entire time. Before you go back up, will you do me one small favor? She goes, what? He goes, the whole time we've been down here, I have no memory of us together because you've always been pouting. If you're going to leave, will you at least come and sit down for one meal with me? And that way I can have a memory of us sitting down and eating together. And she goes, all right, I will come and have one meal with you. He goes, perfect, I appreciate it. And tomorrow we're going to find out what happens at that meal.